Good afternoon, everyone. We're continuing with our preparation for GSAT. We're looking now at part 2 of our science study sheet. So we continue with the topic floating and sinking. What is a fluid? A fluid is a liquid or gas. What is upthrust? Upthrust is the force that pushes an object up and makes it seem to get lighter in a fluid. When will an object float? An object will float if the upward push of the water is equal to its weight. When will an object sink? An object will sink if it is heavier than the upthrust of the water. What is density? Density is the measure of how tightly matter is packed together. What determines if an object sinks or floats? It is the density of the object that determines whether it sinks or floats. Why does a huge ship float on water? A ship is able to float on water because the hull of the ship is hollow and filled with air. The air in the hull makes the ship weigh less than it would if it were made from solid iron or steel. The ship pushes against or displaces the water until the weight of the water is equal to the weight of the ship. Therefore, the upthrust of the water equals the weight of the ship, so the ship floats. All right, so let us bear this in mind now. Everything that goes into water sinks first, then it floats. So it will push against the water in turn pushes against the object, and if the upthrust is greater than the pull of gravity, then the thing will begin to float. However, if the pull of gravity or the push on the water is greater than the upthrust, then it will begin to sink. And if you guys are unclear, let us go back to Archimedes' principle. We had a video there that shows that anything that is added to a body of water will actually do what? Displace the water or displace some of the water. Okay. So let's go now. Energy, number 159. What are the two main types of energy? And that would be potential and kinetic. How does heat travel? Well, via radiation, conduction, and convection, right? Those are the three ways in which heat travels through different substances. Number 161. What is radiation? Radiation refers to the way heat travels from a source to a body without heating up the substance through which it travels. You can feel the heat from a hot iron, or the sun or fire without touching it. All right. Let's go to one for this page. 163. What are good conductors of heat? Materials that allow heat to pass through them easily are called good conductors of heat. The best conductors of heat are metals. What are poor conductors of heat? Insulators are called poor conductors of heat. Heat passes through these materials slowly or not at all. It passes through slowly or not at all. Now, metals are not only good conductors of heat, but they are also good conductors of electricity. That is why we will never take anything metallic and stick it into a electrical socket or outlet. You will get whacked by electrical energy because you holding on to that metal, especially if the metal is bare, right? There's no plastic on it. The plastic would be acting as an insulator, therefore shielding you from the flow of electrons. All right. So bear that in mind. Okay. 165. What is convection? Heat transferred in liquid and gases by heat is transferred rather in liquids and gases by the process of convection. So we also showed a video in one of our earlier class meetings about convectional movements within liquids and gases. Basically, as the liquid heats up, it will expand, and as it rises, cooler liquid from somewhere else will come in to take the place of the liquid that has left, and that cycle will continue. Okay. 166. What is a fuel? Anything that is burnt to produce energy is a fuel. 167. What are examples of fuel? Some fuels are food, wood, coal, paper, oil, and gas. 168. What is meant by kindling temperature? The temperature at which a fuel bursts into flames is called its kindling temperature. So there is a point at which gasoline will just erupt into flames. Okay, that point is the kindling temperature. What are the things essential for fire to burn? Oxygen, heat, and fuel. And these are the three components of the fire triangle. When we remove oxygen, we call that smothering. When we remove heat, that's cooling. And when we remove fuel, that is starvation. All right. And from time to time, we'll hear this whenever we're preparing for a fire drill and so on. We'll go through these things. So if I have some coal, roasting a breadfruit, for example, I have a coal pot, some coal is there. I can smother it by pouring ash or dirt on the coal, and that will reduce the amount of oxygen that is available to the burning coal, and eventually it can die out. Heat. If I have the coal, I can pour water on the coal and it will remove the heat. It will cool the coal down, and that is another way of putting it out or extinguishing the fire. Fuel. If I have the coal there, I can simply pull the coal away from each other so they are not touching anymore. And that's one way of starving the fire. Number 170, and now we move to the next topic, nutrition. What is nutrition? Well, nutrition is the process by which the body takes in and digests and uses food. Number 171. What are the nutrients found in food? Well, we have vitamins, minerals, water, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and oils. 172. What are the food groups? We have staples, fats and oils, food from animals, legumes, fruits, and vegetables. So pay attention to this. Food groups are different from nutrients. Food groups are different from nutrients. Nutrients, vitamins, minerals, water, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and oils. However, the food groups would be the staples, the fats and oils, oils, the food from animals, the legumes, fruits, vegetables, etc. Now, what are the chemical elements that make up carbohydrates? We have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. What does a carbohydrate include? Well, it includes food which contain starch, sugar, and cellulose. And 75. What is the main function of carbohydrates? Answer: to supply the body with heat and energy, which is produced by the starches and sugars. 176. What are the different kinds of sugars? We have fructose or glucose, fructose, fruits, glucose, lactose, as in milk, and sucrose, as obtained from sugar cane. Number 177. From what food can starch be obtained? For example, root vegetables, cereals, tubers, and a few fruits such as green banana and breadfruit. So our carbohydrates can come in two forms. They can be starchy or they can be sugary. All right. Number 178. What is the main function of fat in the diet? Now, fat supplies the body with heat and energy. They also contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Fats are found in animals as well as vegetable foods. What are some of the sources of fat in the diet? Butter, margarine, cheese, fatty meat, ackee, and avocado, as in our pear. What are the chemical elements that make up proteins? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. So sugars and fats have a similar chemical makeup, but with a protein, we have the introduction of nitrogen. What is the function of proteins in the diet? Proteins are essential for growth, body maintenance, and for repairing worn out or damaged tissues. They are also important for the growth of the hair, the nails, and the skin. What are some sources of protein in the diet? Milk, cheese, egg, fish, chicken, peanuts, peas, beans, cashew, and nuts. These are some of the sources of protein. So we have animal sources and we have plant sources. What happens if the diet is deficient of protein? Well, there's a disease called kwashiorkor that can result. Why are vitamins important to the diet? Vitamins help the body to resist disease. A deficiency in vitamin C results in what nutritional disease? Answer: scurvy. And a presentation was done last week by a group, and they looked at some of the history behind scurvy, saying that when sailors went to sea for a particular time, they recognized that they had gum problems. Then they found out because they did not have access to vitamin C, this is why they were having the gum problems. So they would carry a vitamin C in terms of oranges and citrus fruits with them. But beyond that, then they began to have the gum problem. So the association was made, and people now know that they need to take vitamin C to prevent scurvy. Now 184. Why are vitamins important in the diet? Again, they help us to resist disease. All right, we passed that one already. 186. What is necessary for vitamins to do their job? For vitamins to do their job, they must be in solution. Some of them dissolve in water, like vitamin B and C, and others dissolve in fat and K. Let's look at this little table that we have here. We have vitamins, main sources, the functions in the body, and the results of deficiency. So vitamin A, which is a fat-soluble vitamin, we find it in liver, eggs, yolk, green vegetables, carrots, fish oil, red pepper. Function, what does vitamin A help us with? It keeps our skin and eyes healthy and fights infectious diseases. If we don't have it, what happens? We have eye disorders, reduced night vision, and unhealthy skin. So those girls who like to take their vegetables and throw them into the bin, but at the same time want to have lovely skin, those two things don't work together. So to prevent the crocodile looking skin, we need to have our vitamins. Vitamin B, yeast, cereals, unpolished rice, leafy vegetables. If we have a lack of those, what happens? We have issues with, the functions help us with muscle coordination. We have a healthy nervous system, and a deficiency would result in beriberi. It's a B2 skin disease. Let's go now with vitamin C. Vitamin C helps to fight infectious diseases. And if we don't have it, we have issues with our joints, scurvy, etc. Vitamin D sources: fish, cod liver oil, egg yolk, and from sunlight. Helps with the growth of bones and teeth. Deficiency is called rickets. Weak and malformed bones are evidence of that. Vitamin K found in green vegetables, egg yolk, unpolished rice, cereals, etc., and needed for the clotting of blood. If you don't have it, this is what happens. Bleeding continues for a long time if you are injured. Minerals. What are minerals? Minerals are chemical substances that are needed by the body in order to function properly. They are needed for body building. 188. What are the most important minerals in the diet? Well, calcium, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, iron, iodine, chlorine, and fluorine are some of the more important minerals. Why is iron so important in the diet? Iron is very important in the diet to make hemoglobin. That is a red pigment in the blood. 190, what is the result? If the diet is deficient in iron, the result is known as anemia. Now, one of the things that happens is that hemoglobin has an affinity to or an attraction to oxygen. So when you inhale and we have gaseous exchange within the lungs, the alveoli in the lung is a site of the exchange of gases. Hemoglobin captures or holds on to the oxygen and moves it around the body. So for persons who have low levels of iron, the hemoglobin is going to be low, so you won't be able to hold on and carry that oxygen around the body as needed by the cells as they respire. So you end up feeling weak. So people who are generally lethargic, that's the word that the doctors will use, they will try to give them some iron to see if that is one of the reasons why they are feeling that way. So what are some of the sources of iron now? Liver, kidney, lean meat, eggs, and leafy vegetables. So again, we have both animal sources and we have plant sources. 192. What is the importance of iodine? Some people say iodine, some people say iodine. Iodine in the body. Iodine is needed for the formation of certain hormones which help to control growth. Yes. What is the result of a lack of iodine in the body? A lack of iodine in the diet causes swelling of the gland in the neck. This condition is called goiter. What are some of the sources of iodine? Well, some sources of iodine include seafoods such as fish and lobster. 195. What are some of the sources of calcium and phosphorus? Green vegetables, milk, cheese, the bones of canned fish like sardines and mackerel, shellfish, and nuts. 196. What are some of the sources of fluorine? It says small amounts of fluorine occur in most drinking water. It's 196. Let's go down some more. Yes. And it helps to prevent tooth decay. So when the NWC or any other water treatment facility has water passing through it, they usually add chlorine to kill pathogens, germs, bacteria, and so on that might be in the water. And they may also add fluorine to the water to help to prevent tooth decay. 197. What is the chemical name for salt? That's table salt. Sodium chloride. What is another name for baking soda? Sodium bicarbonate or bicarbonate of soda. What is meant by diet? A diet is the food that a person normally eats every day. 200 now. What is a balanced diet? Balanced diet is one which provides the correct amount of nutrients needed daily by the body to remain healthy. What is malnutrition? Malnutrition is a dietary condition resulting from the absence of some foods or essential necessary for proper health. What are food tests? So I'm wondering if I'm going to give a yam a pencil and a paper and give it a test. Let's see. Tests, food tests are tests carried out to determine the types of nutrients that can be found in certain foods. What is the solution used to test for starch? Iodine solution. Again, for starch, iodine solution. What is the indication that starch is present in food? If it is bluish black, so if a bluish black color appears on the food after adding iodine solution, then we know that starch is present. What is the solution used to test for sugar? Okay, another form of carbohydrate. Benedict's solution. What is the color indication to show that sugar is present in food? Answer, it shows brick red. On to digestion. What is digestion really? The process by which food is broken down and made soluble so that it can pass into the bloodstream is called digestion. So we have two components. We have the physical part and we have the chemical part. The physical part is the mastication of food. That is what? Chewing up the food. All right, big word for chewing. So chewing the food is very important because we're breaking the food down. We're increasing the surface area upon which the what? Chemicals can work. So for all those persons who just swallow the rice, you are not giving enough of a surface area for the gastric juices and the other chemicals in the and the enzymes to work so that your body is able to take the maximum amount of nutrients from those foods eaten. All right, so what are the parts that make up the digestive system now? We have the mouth, the alimentary canal, the stomach, the liver, the pancreas, the small intestines, the large intestines, the rectum, and the anus. Here's that word we were talking about. What does it mean to masticate? The word means to chew. Just a big word for chewing. What names are given to the teeth? This is grade 3 word now. Molars, those are the ones which grind food, and they are found at the back of the mouth. Incisors, they are straight and they are used for cutting, okay, to bite and to tear food. They are at the front. The canines are used for tearing food and are usually found at the side. Premolars are located between the canines and the molars. What is peristalsis? Peristalsis is a series of rhythmic contractions of the digestive tract which move food along. To 11. Let's go to 2. Right. Sing some, but anyways, let's go on. What name is given to a place where an organism lives? That's called its habitat. What is a food chain? The process of transferring food energy from one organism to another is called a food chain. Why are green plants called primary producers? Green plants are called primary producers because they produce their own food. Primary producers produce their own food. What are consumers in a food energy chain? The animals that eat other plants and animals are called consumers. The plants that eat other plants and animals are called consumers. What is a primary consumer? Well, a primary consumer on green plants, usually herbivores. Examples of these are cows and goats and sheep. What is a secondary consumer? A secondary consumer, a carnivore, usually, is one that feeds on the primary consumer. Examples of these are lions and tigers. What is an omnivore? An omnivore is an animal that eats both plants and animals and are called omnivores. An example of an omnivore is a human being. So you will have a piece of chicken, animal, but you will also eat with that some lettuce, plant. So eating both, omnivore. All right, now it says, what name is given to organisms that feed only on insects? Those are called insectivores. What name is given to a set of food chains linked together in the same habitat? That is called a food web. We move now to systems. What is a tree? Trees have tall woody stems or trunks and many branches with leaves. Define a shrub or define shrubs. Shrubs have a short woody trunk with branches close to the ground. What is a herb? Herbs are short plants that grow close to the ground. They have soft, non-woody stems. What is a cotyledon? A cotyledon is a seed leaf. What's a monocotyledon? One seed leaf, for example, a corn. I think this one should have been what is a dicotyledon. Dicotyledonous plants have two seed leaves, for example, the pea, while a monocotyledonous plant, for example, corn, has one seed leaf. So when it begins to germinate, when it pushes up, the plumule goes up and the radicle goes down. The radicle becomes the root system, while the plumule becomes the shoot system. If the plumule has two seed leaves that come out, then that's a dicot or dicotyledonous plant. But if it only comes up with one seed leaf, it's called a monocotyledonous plant. Dicotyledonous plants have a tap root system where they have a main root. However, monocotyledonous plants have a fibrous root system. 229. What is the shoot system in plants? The shoot of a flowering plant is made up of a stem, leaves, buds, and fruits, and flowers. What are the functions of the shoot system? Some of its functions are photosynthesis, transportation, storage, and reproduction. What are the functions of the leaves on a plant? Photosynthesis is the most important function of the leaves. Another main function of the leaves is transpiration. Some leaves function like a flower. Some leaves rather function like flower petals to attract birds and insects to tiny flowers. For example, the bougainvillea. We have new plants can grow from some leaves. For example, the leaf of life. Some leaves are fleshy, water-storing organs. For example, the ice plant. What is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is a process by which green plants make their own food by combining carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight. What is the pigment that gives green plants their color? Answer: chlorophyll. What is transpiration? Transpiration is a process in which water evaporates from the leaves as invisible water vapor. Now, transpiration helps to cool the plant, and perspiration helps to cool man. Why is transpiration important? Transpiration from the leaves is important for transporting water from the soil through the plant. It also helps to keep the plant cool as water takes away heat when it evaporates. What are some of the functions of the stem and trunks? Stems and trunks link the root system and the shoot system of the plants so that water and minerals manufactured food can move from one part of the plant to another. Some stems are storage organs. For example, sugarcane, ginger, Irish potato, celery, and yam. Some stems make food. What is a pistil? The pale reproductive part of the flower. It includes the stigma, the style, contains ovules, also known as eggs. What is the stamen? The stamen. The stamens are the male reproductive parts. The stamen consists of the filamen and the anther, which holds pollen. Each stamen makes pollen, which helps the plants to reproduce. So all flowering plants produce flowers for the purpose of reproducing. What is pollination? The transfer of pollen from the stamen to the pistil is pollination. It sometimes, in some plants, it takes place when, let's see if we have the rest of that up here, 39. Not seeing that one. Here. It takes place when insects or birds visit the flower. And other plants, it depends on the wind. Pollination will depend on the wind to blow pollen from one flower to another. So what then is fertilization? Fertilization is the fusion of male and female sex cells. That process of fusing is called fertilization. $240. Where were we now? 240. 9. Okay. Let's go some more. Okay, so what is the root system? The root system normally grows underground. What is a tap root? A tap root system has a main trunk, or sorry, a main root that is con- a continuation of the stem or trunk and several side root branch from it. Let me read that one again for you. So, what is the taproot? A taproot is a system. A taproot system has a main root that is a continuation of the stem or trunk, and several side roots branch from it. What's a fibrous root? A fibrous root system does not have a main root, but has several roots of similar size, all coming from the base of the stem or trunk. What are the functions of the root system? One, roots anchor plants in the soil. They hold the plant firmly so that it does not fall over easily as its shoot system grows. As the shoot system grows, we're upward and away from the ground. What about the root system? The root system absorbs water and mineral salts. Root hairs are the parts that enable the plant to increase the amount that can be absorbed. Some roots are storage organs, for example, carrot and beetroot and sweet potato. Some roots develop into growing areas from which new plants can develop. So we go to the body. I highly doubt that this topic is going to be there, but it's good information nonetheless. What is puberty? Puberty is a time when changes take place in your reproductive system and other body parts that will enable you to reproduce. It is the start of adolescence. At the end of adolescence or adolescence, you become an adult. What are the male reproductive organs? Well, we have two testes housed in a special sac called the scrotum. We have the sperm duct and the penis. What is the male reproductive cell called? Well, it's called sperm, which leaves the body through the penis. They travel in a liquid called semen. What are the female reproductive organs? We have the vagina, the ovary, the fallopian tubes, the uterus, or womb. What is the female reproductive cell called? Well, it's called an egg. What produces sex cells in both males and females? The sex cells that are necessary for humans to reproduce are produced by the testes in males and the ovaries in females. Excretion. What is excretion? Excretion is a process by which living organisms get rid of or excrete harmful waste or excretory products. These products are formed during various chemical reactions that take place inside the cells. What are the excretory organs? Well, the skin, the lungs, and the kidney are the organs of excretion. How do humans get rid of wastes or body wastes? One, when we sweat, the action helps remove water and some mineral salts and cools the body. Our lungs have an important excretory function. When we exhale, excess carbon dioxide that is produced during respiration is removed from the body. The kidneys remove water and other harmful substances from the blood. They help to keep the blood concentration stable by regulating the amount of salt and water that are removed from the blood. Undigested food leaves the body through the large intestine. Where is urine stored in the body? It's stored in the bladder, and specifically, it's stored in the urinary bladder. 250. Let's see. 255, we move now to the skeleton and the muscles. So, how many bones make up the skeleton? 206. What is the soft center of the bone called? That would be the marrow. What is the longest bone in the human body? The femur or the thigh bone? The smallest bone in the human body, the stirrup or stapes. Remember, we had said the other day the ear has three bones. You cannot miss them. So, has and miss, hammer, anvil, and stirrup, malleus, incus, and stapes. What is the correct name for the kneecap? The patella. What is another name for the skull? Your cranium. What is another name for your chest or breastbone? That would be the sternum. What are the functions of the skeleton? The skeleton supports the body and with muscles gives the body a definite shape. The skeleton also works with the muscular system to cause movement. The skeleton protects the brain, the spinal cord, and the sense organs, the heart, and the lungs. So all of those things are protected by the skeleton. $262. Let's see. $260. The place where two bones meet is called a joint and together by ligaments. 265. What are fixed joints called? Fixed joints are fixed in place. So, what are fixed joints? Fixed joints are fixed in place and don't move at all. Your skull has some of these joints. See if we can find 265. Hinge joints allow for what type of movement? They allow for back and forth movement. 270. What are ball and socket joints? Where rather are ball and socket joints located in your body? Your shoulders and your hips. They are made up of the round end of one bone fitting into a small cup-like area of another bone. Ball and socket joints allow for lots of movements in every direction. What are vertebrates? Vertebrates are animals with a backbone. What are invertebrates? Invertebrates are out a backbone. $273. What attaches muscles to bones? Tendons attach muscles to bones. Number 274. What are the different types of muscles? We have voluntary or skeletal muscles, or involuntary or smooth muscles, and cardiac or heart muscles. So let's go with these. Voluntary muscles, those muscles that you can control on your own. They are also known as skeletal muscles. So your biceps would be an example of voluntary muscles. Involuntary or smooth muscles, example would be your alimentary canal. So those muscles work without you even thinking about them. And cardiac or heart muscles are found in the heart. What are voluntary muscles? These are skeletal muscles which are attached to the bones by tough tendons. The human body consists of about 660 voluntary muscles. These muscles are easy to feel because they can move whenever you want them to. What are involuntary muscles? These are smooth muscles that work automatically. Muscles like these keep your heart beating and squeeze food through the digestive tract. What are cardiac muscles? These are the heart muscles. The heart muscle automatically and never seem to get tired. What are the two main muscles in the arm? The biceps and the triceps. When you lower your arm, your bicep muscles relax and your triceps contract or tighten. When you raise your arm, your biceps bend or contract and your triceps relax. Names of sense organs, names of system, organs in the system, and the main function. So in the skeletal system, we have the skeleton, which supports and protects the body. In the muscular system, we have the muscles that allow movement in the body. In the digestive system, we have the alimentary canal, the liver, the pancreas, and it takes in and breaks down food into simple substances. In the circulatory system, we have the heart and the blood vessels designed to carry oxygen and food around the body. In the respiratory system, we have the nose, the mouth, the bronchial tubes, the windpipe, and the lungs. Function, we need to exchange gases between the air and the bloodstream. Excretory, we have the kidney, the lungs, the skin, the liver, and the intestines. Function to get rid of harmful and unwanted substances. Nervous system, we have the brain and the spinal cord. Function receives information from all parts of the body and sends out messages to the body to tell the body parts what to do. We have the reproductive system, which consists of the testes and ovaries, and its main function is to produce offspring. I think this is about it. So some of the, well, let me see if there's more. No, that's it. Okay. Okay. Cardiovascular disease refers to what organ? The heart. What are the types of vessels that carry blood away from the heart? We have mostly veins away. However, we have an exception. And what types of vessels carry blood? No. Let me say that again. What type of vessels carry blood away from the heart? We have arteries, but there's one exception. And what types of vessels carry blood towards the heart? Those would be veins, and we have one exception. All right, so if we look at the references, here we have references, the concepts in science, first steps in science, that's the class book, introduction to social studies, and the new integrated science workbook that you have as well. All right, guys, this brings us to the end of our session. We been at it for almost an hour, but this is part 2. Please make sure you do your own revision over these things, the references for those books that you own. Go through them, take the time, go through the glossary, and make sure that you're well prepared. Have for yourselves a productive evening until I see you again.